Welcome to PwC IFRS Talks, your source of all things IFRS, technical accounting matters, business issues, current standard setting and regulatory updates. I'm your host, Ruth Preedy. In today's episode, we're going to have a special Christmas edition of IFRS Talks, and to help me join in the fun, I'm joined by Dave Walters, UK partner. Welcome back, Dave.
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to celebrating Christmas in this particular accounting way.
When I was doing the introduction, I did think, and shall I add in, and useless Christmas IFRS facts as a thing that we're going to impart as part of this, but maybe not.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, you listeners, just in case you decide to dial off now, is Dave, I'll get you to explain a little bit in a second, but Dave came up with the amazing idea of IFRS top trumps. So we're going to try and maybe play a session live, and then, but also impart some helpful IFRS tips.
Yes.
And then I thought, why not? Let's get to know Dave Walters as well. So I'm going to ask him some random questions about himself. So Dave, tell us how the top trumps occurred.
Well, essentially, I was looking for a novel fundraising idea to raise funds for the charities that I was supporting as part of a trek up Kilimanjaro in September. So back in May, was looking for novel fundraising ideas. Got involved in a Twitter conversation, as all social media types do, with someone who had just visited the Lamborghini factory, which I commented was the best top trumps car to have in the car set of top trumps as a child. The banter continued. Someone suggested, would it be a good idea to have some international accounting standards top trumps? Little did I know that top trumps, the company, were monitoring the conversation. So when I said, yes, that's a great idea, I should get to try and make that happen, they sent me a message to say we can help. So a few months later, on Friday the 13th of July...
Oh my God, you remember very precisely.
I remember it very clearly because I didn't do any work that day. I launched IFRS Top Trumps on an unsuspecting world with a challenge to everyone who wanted a set to write me a poem, a sonnet, haiku or limerick about their favourite accounting standard, and I duly got entries from all over the world. It was been great.
That's amazing. And so in the studio today, we actually have a few spare packets of top trumps.
We do.
So I think we're proposing that if you do actually get past the first minute of this recording and listen further, if you're the first person to tweet Dave Walters when he shares this podcast, we'll get you a pack of top trumps as well.
Fantastic.
That's going to be a good Christmas present. Come
Absolutely.
on.
That's Christmas sorted, basically.
Okay, are we going to try and have a go?
Let's have a go.
Okay, between each one I'll ask you a fun question.
Fantastic. So, you ladies first.
Oh, thank you. I've got IFRS 9. Whoa!
Oh, no. I've already lost.
And I'm looking at the picture. I'm going to describe this to you. It says James needs IFRS 9. And there's a lot of pages, which I'm hoping is going to help. So one of the categories is length.
Yes.
And that's what I'm going to go for. 631 pages. Is that accurate, or did you just guess?
No, I got that information from the ISB themselves. I wanted to fact check the length of the standards. So Catherine Dunkersley at the ISB confirmed 631 pages, which is actually the longest standard out there. So you have
so
one.
It's a killer card, and it does say you've described IFRS 9 as the big daddy of the accounting world.
It is. I've unfortunately only got IS 41 here, the agriculture card.
That's my
So
favourite.
the length of the standard is 54 pages.
It's not
So
long.
that's less than 1/10 of IFRS 9. And here I describe it as old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he had a complex fair value exercise. E-R-E-R, no! There we go. So you won that card. Well done.
Oh, brilliant. Now, I think I was supposed to now give you a fun fact about IFRS 9. What fun fact should I give you? I'm not sure there is too many. So obviously IFRS 9 is in its first year.
It is.
Being effective. I tend to work with corporates rather than banks. So banks, obviously, it would have impacted them massively. But I, from personal experience, think one of the hardest exercises for corporates has been the expected credit loss.
I think it has been, and actually for companies, I think I would say don't forget the impact on standalone accounts. So parent companies that have got lots of intercompany loans. I was talking to some directors of companies here in the UK just yesterday, and they said actually that had been one of the biggest surprises of the standard, was the impact on standalone sets of accounts.
Yeah.
So the consolidated accounts impact was relatively small, but don't forget the impact in entity accounts.
And as a Christmas present, we've got a big old guide, it's huge, on intercompany and how it's impacted by IFRS 9. Okay, so first Dave Waters question. We're getting to know Dave Waters. What is your favourite pastime outside of doing IFRS top trumps?
Well, I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed trekking up Kilimanjaro in the autumn, and I'm actually going back to climb a mountain in Morocco over New Year. So I do enjoy long distance walks and a bit of running as well. So I've run a reasonable number of half marathons over the years. Can be seen plodding around.
Plodding?
It's definitely
fast.
No. There's no Olympic standard being broken here, but it's great fun actually getting out and enjoying a bit of rest and recuperation away from all these pesky accounting standards.
And was Kilimanjaro as difficult as you expected, or did you sort of know it was going to be really tough?
I knew it was going to be tough. I think the summit, climbing to the summit, which was kicked off at 1:30 in the morning, climbing through the night, it was -10. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. But the sense of achievement when you get to the top is quite something. And going with the team that I went with, we had a fabulous time. I think they really made it. Having that shared experience, sharing the highs and the lows of the week that we were trekking was just fantastic.
Yeah, amazing. A memory you're never going to forget. Okay, back to top trumps. I don't think I've shuffled mine very well because the next one I've got is IFRS 8.
Oh.
I'm not sure how much of excitement we can get about segment reporting, but let's go with it. What shall I go for? I am going to say, this is higher than I would have expected. Likelihood of tears, 57%.
57%, right. And so I have got IAS 38, the intangible standard.
Oh, yeah.
Likelihood of tears, 46%. So you've won again. So you picked it.
How did you determine likelihood of tears?
Well,
is segments going to make me cry?
Look, segments. I think the likelihood of tears is a very subjective measure, obviously, which I did.
Has it been audited?
Yes, I tested with others, and some of the higher ones that were certainly agreed with by some of my colleagues. Is likelihood of tears of either preparers or users or regulators, and segments has caused quite a lot of fairly heated debate between auditors and companies over the years. So that's why I boosted the percentage likelihood of tears.
We don't know who's crying. Just
general
tears.
It's just general tears.
Yeah. And IFRS 8 are departing our wisdom, I would say, from my experience, where I would get into a lot of questions about what data is actually reported to the CODM.
Yeah.
So defining the CODM can be tough, but I think when you've identified them, it's what is actually reported that would determine this it's a big old disclosure as well, isn't it?
It is, and it's certainly a favourite target of regulators and investors, actually, because from an investor perspective, it is perhaps some of the most useful information in the annual report. What do management regard as the thing they're managing and how they perform?
Perfect. Okay, Dave Waters, question number 2. I'll do a quick one. Do you prefer tea or coffee?
Tea.
Tea, done.
Tea.
Nothing else needed. Tea. I'm a coffee person. Okay. Oh, good. I've shuffled now.
Excellent.
IS 19.
Ooh.
Pension accounting.
Ooh.
You got a little picture. My boss told me this year's bonus would be easy to account for, as it's 0.
I had to do all the cartoons for these cards. One of the things that Top Trumps were very keen on was to stress that you mustn't breach copyright when you're publishing photographs. So don't take photographs off the internet unless you have permission. So I thought, well, the easiest way of dealing with that is to do my own pictures, and then I'll probably give myself permission to publish these. But it was great fun.
Very good drawing. I'm not sure I would. You can actually tell they're people. Mine are more like my 4-year-old daughter draws better than I do. It definitely wasn't my skill in life. Oh, now I don't know what to go for here. Likelihood of tears is high. I think I want a different category, so I'm going to go complexity. 7 out of 10.
Well,
IS
okay.
19 is hard.
So I've got IS 36, the impairment standard, which is one that I used to be very heavily involved.
You joined us for a podcast on IS 36
I
before,
did,
Mr.
yes.
Waters.
And that also has a complexity score of 7. So you now need to choose another category.
Oh, no.
So the categories you should choose from is either length, complexity, gestation in years, how long did it take to write, likelihood of tears, as we've already discussed, or very own category, top trumps geek score.
I'm going to go for top trumps geek score. I don't know what it is. It out of 100?
Yes.
59.
Well, I think 65 for impairment.
Oh, geeky. Impairment score geeky.
I think so, and that's simply
I like impairment. I don't think I'm a geek.
simply because it's quite complicated. So the impairment test.
Whereas pensions is easy.
Well, it's even more complicated. It is a subjective score at the end of the day, but actually, the models that I use to support, for example, a value in use calculation, and the changes that you have to make to the normal models that companies have for their business and the performance they expect over the next few years, means it is quite geeky. And then couple that with the complexity sometimes of the cash generating unit and what should be in my recoverable amount. There's all sorts of questions there that I think make it slightly more geeky than the alternative.
Actually, this is good timing because year end we always do a bit of a reminder on, it's generally the time you do impairment tests. If you've got anything people should, top tips for impairment.
Top tips, certainly at the moment, clearly there's probably a little bit more uncertainty around than there has been in the past. So have a good look at the assumptions you're making for your sort of base case cash flows and have those been sensitised for your likely outcomes. Sitting here in the UK at the moment, we've got a particular issue coming up in March next year as to what our trading relationship will be like with the European Union. But that level of uncertainty is not just us. And then if you have done an impairment test, don't forget the sensitivity disclosures. There are some required ones in IS 36 if you've had a near miss on an impairment, and indeed, given this is one of the more volatile estimates that are in reports and accounts, don't forget the IS1 disclosures on significant estimates either. It's a favourite target of regulators.
Yeah, and I think all the sensitivity stuff, I don't see that done that well, or I think that's something people could do better at, and I think it's also something, like you said, that easily attracts regulator attention because you've got things like, I've got the same discount rate across all of my CGUs, and a regulator will automatically are you sure? Risk is exactly the same across your entire business. So I think that sensitivity stuff is a tricky one.
It is a tricky one.
Okay, so question for Dave Waters.
Yeah.
If you were an accounting standard, what would you be? I was going to say if you were an animal, what would you be? But I thought let's keep it accounting focused.
If I was an accounting standard, what would I be now? That really.
I haven't told you these questions in advance, by the way. Luckily, Dave's very flexible.
That's right. I think I'd like to think I would be the interim reporting standard because I reckon I'm about halfway through my natural life. I've just turned 50 this year. I'd like to turn 100 and prove all the doubters wrong.
Yeah, you're going to focus on I love that. Now, we've actually, I don't know how, but we've already been recording for about 14 minutes, so I don't know how many more top trumps we're going to get through. But it's been fun. I think we've had a lovely time. I'll do one more very quick Dave Waters question. Chocolate or crisps?
Chocolate.
Oh, yeah, me too. Okay.
I come from Birmingham, so Cadbury World is just down the road and is quite a favourite.
Love a chocolate.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to send me some for Christmas, go for it.
So your Christmas gift, many people would wish for things like world peace, but actually you'd like a box of chocolates.
I'd like world peace as well, where everyone thinks I'm awful. Anyway, so thank you very much. I hope you listened past 1 minute. We've had a great time recording it. I promise you we will be back in the new year with some maybe more hard-hitting IFRS topics. But hopefully you enjoyed this. Dave, thanks so much for being a great sport and joining in. This has been PwC IFRS Talks Christmas edition. Happy Christmas! The preceding programme was brought to you by PricewaterhouseCoopers LLP. This content is for general information purposes and is not a substitute for consultation with professional advisors.